If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to another episode of Keeping It Clean with Manny Robles. I'm your host, the FightersRep, with none other than my co-host, one of the best boxing trainers on the planet, right there on your screen, Manny Robles. Manny, how are you today, sir?
I am doing very well. Thank you for asking, and happy to be here. And again, our third show together, and I'm excited about it. And uh, what else can we? I mean, just as passionate as we are with the sport of boxing, it's easy for me to be here with you to talk about something I enjoy to talk about so much.
Man, I love to hear that, Manny. You know, every time I get you on here, it really is a buzz for me. And today's a special day, Manny, because today's the day before
Mhm.
we return to boxing. Today's the day before boxing comes back, courtesy of Top Rank. They got Shakur Stevenson
Mhm.
headlining tomorrow's event on ESPN. Uh, First of all, I mean, how do you feel about boxing finally returning kind of to the big time, to the forefront, and then give me your opinions on Shakur Stevenson.
Well, I feel good. It feels great to finally get boxing back, and then with Shakur Stevenson, a great up and coming fighter, world champion, making a lot of buzz. I definitely see him becoming pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world in the near future.
Wow, and he's a silver medalist in the Olympics, 2016.
Hmm.
He represented for the United States. What is it that you kind of see about him, Manny, that makes you think that he's going to be a superstar? And you're not the only one that feels that way. I mean, a lot of people are saying he might be the second coming of Floyd Mayweather. They're already talking crazy, in my opinion, about
Yeah,
Floyd
yeah.
Mayweather.
I don't know. He could be right. I mean,
Could be.
I look. I remember Floyd when he first turned pro. He was definitely an exciting fighter, definitely a more aggressive fighter. But as time went on, he developed a more defensive style, if you will. But with Shakur, you have that already. You have a kid that's very talented, got a great smile, very charismatic. Everybody loves him, and he's a great fighter. I mean, he's got great skills defensively. Like they say in boxing, skills pay the bills, man. And this kid definitely has the skills to become something special in boxing.
And have you been kind of keeping track of his career since the amateurs, Manny? Is this a fighter that you've kind of kept your eye on?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I had, going back to 2016 at the Olympic Games in Rio, in Brazil, and then I remember after coming back from the Olympic Games and him signing with Top Rank, he found himself in Southern California, and his coach called me one day asking me for sparring, and I'm like, yeah, but absolutely. I'm always, my gym is always open to anybody that's looking to get that good work, good sparring. So they showed up at the Rock. I was previously at the Rock, and they showed up at the Rock in Carson, and he sparred none other than Jesse Magdaleno,
Ah.
and Jesse Magdaleno was a world champion at the time. Okay, and here you have this kid that's an amateur coming out of the Olympic Games, a silver medalist, and obviously he wasn't a seasoned pro yet because, again, as I said, he's still an amateur. But man, after that sparring session, I gotta tell you, man, the kid impressed me. He's very difficult to hit. Very precise with his punches. Great counter puncher. And when he won the world title versus Joel Gonzalez, I honestly thought Joel Gonzalez was going to give him a run for his money, and he made that fight look so easy. He made it look so easy, and he captured the world title.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's really interesting that you kind of had that interaction with him when he sparred with Magdaleno. I mean, how is that dynamic when you've got a world champion like that? Then you got this young buck coming in that's supposed to be the
Mhm.
next big thing. It is a sport of a lot of egos, a lot of confidence sometimes. How was that environment there?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it's always a good environment at the gym, and what happens in the gym stays in the gym with me at least.
It's like
You
Vegas,
know,
right, Coach?
that
It's like
that's
Vegas.
that's always been my rule. I
Yeah.
mean, out of respect for both for all boxers that come into my gym, I don't allow anyone to record if it's not the purpose of studying video for their own for their own use. But I don't allow anybody to post videos of sparring or somebody else, maybe getting hurt or me having a better day than you, and I go out there and I start posting videos. I believe it's very disrespectful. So we don't allow that, and it was a great sparring session. No recording was taken because I didn't allow it. But honest to God, I mean, I'm telling you, this kid is was I knew that man, this kid is gonna be something special. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Look, he's only 30. He's only has 13 fights as a professional, man, and he's
Yeah.
already a world champion. That's when you're that when you have that kind of talent, it shouldn't take too long. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
some fighters develop their experience during the pros. Yes.
Yeah.
So you see fighters that are 30 and old, particularly Mexican fighters. They turn pro when they're freaking 15 years old. And by the time they got 30, 40, look at Canelo. By the time they got 30, 40 professional fights, they're now just fighting for a world title. But when you come across fighters that have that type of talent, like Shakur, you don't have to wait for him to get to 20 and 0 or 30 and 0. You know what I mean? Because you know what you're working with.
Yeah.
And plus, they got a great matchmaker and Brad Goodman and great promoter and Bob Arum and Top Rank.
Yeah. And so, haven't seen him spar. I mean, you mentioned his defense. Was there anything else about him, Manny, that you saw? You said, "Man, this kid, this kid is the truth right here."
Oh no, definitely. Well, his boxing skills overall, he's
Yeah.
got his overall skills. I mean, he's again what probably impressed me the most is counter punching. He's a great counter puncher. He really knows how to get in and out of a situation, use the ring, fight in angles. He's just a special kid. Plus, he's a southpaw.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
special kid. He doesn't have huge punching power. That he doesn't have, but he definitely has the skills.
Gotcha. And he's going to be taking on tomorrow on ESPN, 7 p.m. Eastern. I guess live from Las Vegas. He's going to be taking on a guy in Felix Caraballo. That, to be honest with you, Manny, I mean, I haven't heard much about him.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean,
Never heard of
I know
him.
he's 13-1 with two
Mhm.
draws, but I mean, that's all I know about him. Have you heard
Man,
anything about this guy?
nothing at all. Nothing at all. But what does he have to lose? I mean, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for the kid. Somebody calls you to offer you a shot at a world title. You're not going to turn it down, my friend. You're going
Yeah.
to jump on it. And this is an opportunity of a lifetime for the kid. Anything can happen in boxing, and anything can happen on any given day. But he's definitely has to be ready for the task. Like I said, Shakur is a very special fighter. I don't know anything about the kid, therefore I can't sit here and tell you that it's going to be a great fight or a back and forth fight or I can't sit here and tell you that the fight's going to go the distance or the kid's going to get knocked out. I don't know because I don't know the kid.
Right, right, right. Well, a couple things about him that I'm seeing here on his box rec, just the obvious stuff. I mean, it looks like he's never fought outside of Puerto
That's
Rico
correct.
in his life.
That's
Yeah, this will be, that's a hell of a,
yeah, big stage.
it's a hell
Yeah,
of a
it's
welcome to the United States,
let me
Manny.
tell you something. It's I've been to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico's a beautiful boxing island. Yes, uh, um, very rich and very rich culture, very rich history in boxing. But when you have a fighter like this gentleman that's fighting Shakur, that's never fought outside of Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden you find yourself in Las Vegas, it's definitely eye opening. So we'll see how he handles it. We'll see how he handles himself.
Yeah,
Hopefully, his corner is experience and they can guide him in the right way.
yeah, and I said like an idiot. I mean, this would be his welcome to the United States. Obviously, Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, but I meant,
Right.
but
That's why he
I,
mentioned island. It's a beautiful
yeah,
white country, right?
I meant, I meant to the
I know.
mainland. I mean, he's never fought outside of Puerto Rico, and that's a scary introduction. Like you said, in Vegas at the MGM Grand. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the big stage right there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he does have 9 knockouts. He does have 13. Looks like actually 16 fights. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if someone were to just look at the amount of fights they have, they'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, as a pro, they'd be like, this is okay. But I definitely think that this is
Mm-hmm.
a very tall task for a kid like
Right.
Caraballo. Why do you think they would kind of make a fight like this as opposed to something a little bit more difficult for Shakur Stevenson at this point in his career?
Honestly, I have a feeling that matchmakers are having a hard time finding the right opponents at this moment for their boxers.
Hmm.
Reason being, the COVID, that pandemic. It's not making things easy for anybody.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters are not in boxing in fighting shape because of the gyms are closed, and it's very difficult to have fighters, especially fighters from outside of the country. This is Puerto Rico, so it's easy for him to travel from Puerto Rico because, as you said, it's part of the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
It's like fighting, it's like flying in from New York into Vegas. You know what I mean? Same
Right.
thing.
Right.
Um, but to get fighters, to get top level boxers to come from outside the country to the United States, it's not happening right now. The visas are being denied, and also the travel restrictions. Of course, you're not able to fly. So how do you come to America?
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
that's the one of the setbacks for the Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez fight, because they had to move the fight further in the year because Lomachenko wasn't able to travel,
Yeah.
and a lot of these great fighters aren't able to travel. They're not able to come to the United States for the same reason.
Now, Manny, I was a little bit curious because you mentioned you thought that Joet Gonzalez was going to give Shakur a bit of a run for his money for that WBO
Mhm.
featherweight title fight. I mean, he's kind of the only person I've really, recognized on even Shakur Stevenson's resume.
Record.
I don't see, any world beaters on there by any means. What did you know about Joet that made you think that he'd put up a great fight? Because I don't know much
I
about him.
Oh, I know a lot about Joet. He's a great kid, great fighter, local Southern California boxer,
Mm,
and I've been following him since he was an amateur. And I've seen what he's done in the professional ranks, and he's improved with every fight, every professional fight that is. And I thought there was something about him that could give Shakur problems. His aggression. He's got an aggressive come forward style. You know what I mean? He's very game. He's relentless on his attack. Like, he doesn't give you any breathing room. He's on you from beginning to end. Very always well prepared, well conditioned, and he's always been this way since the amateurs. He's pretty much ran through everybody in the amateurs, and so I expected to see a good fight. Maybe I had a Shakur a slight favorite because I thought the fight was going to be a lot closer, but it wasn't. It was a one-sided fight where Shakur just demonstrated his skills and he made the fight look easy.
yeah, yeah. So, Manny, a little bit about the Olympics. I mean, you mentioned Rio. Were you there in Rio when the Olympics happened?
No, no, no. I wasn't in Rio, but I followed the games.
Gotcha.
And remember that everyone was expecting Shakur. to meet to meet what's the kid, Irish kid? I used to work with him. Oh my goodness.
Conlon?
Yes, Michael Conlon. Everyone was expecting that fight, and you know that's a famous Michael Conlon scene when he starts flipping off the judges after. Remember that? When
Yeah, yeah.
He's flipping off all the judges when he felt like he came up, you know, they stole his fight. And a lot of people feel that way, including myself. You know, I thought he won, and so they were expecting for Shakur versus Michael Collin to face each other in the Olympics, and that didn't happen. And now that's a fight that could be made in the near future, Michael Collin versus Shakur, and they're both with Top Rank, so that's a given.
Lost Wi-Fi connection.
Right, and the guy you're talking about, who Michael Conlon actually lost to at the Olympics, was Vladimir Nikitin, and I guess because they were, I don't know, blaming the officials. I don't know. They wanted the Russian to win. Some people were saying the Russians were rigging it. I mean, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Who knows what was going on
Oh
there?
no, definitely. Shoot, if you talk about rigging in the pros, you ain't seen nothing. The amateur is worse.
Wow,
especially at an international level with AIBA. Very corrupt.
Wow. So, and the interesting part is, I mean, Conlon actually faced Vladimir Nikitin, the same guy, as a pro in his last bout in December.
That's right.
And was able to redeem himself. Yeah.
Got his revenge, yeah.
Now, Manny,
it wasn't Nikitin's fault, though, obviously, and Michael Conlon knows that. It's a sport, it's a business. They face each other, and obviously Michael Conlon won. But I don't think Michael holds or held any grudges against the guy, because it wasn't his fault. It was the judges. And you don't blame anybody, blame the judges, but not the opponent.
Right. And you said you had the opportunity. I mean, it looks like you did have the opportunity to work with Conlon at some point in his career. How did that kind of go?
That went great. Probably about first 6-7 fights, but he got homesick. The wife, he was here in the United States with his wife and child, and he was expecting another baby at the time when he called me. He says, "Coach, I got to do this for my family," and I understand. Fighters have to. They have to make certain decisions at times and have to make changes, and I respect that from Michael, because he came to me and talked to me and told me the situation, and we're still very good friends. We're still good friends. His dad is John Conlon. He's actually the head coach for the Irish national team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
His dad. So he's a very good friend of mine, and great people, great people.
And he's about the same height as Shakur Stevenson. Looks like they're fighting out of the same weight class. I mean, do you see that fight happening at some point? Because that seems like the one to make at some point as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be an exciting fight to watch. And one thing about Michael Conlon is that he can switch to the southpaw stance as well, and he does a very good job at it. And he learned how to go. He's here in California. He definitely learned how to go to the body quite well, to the point where he was knocking guys out by going to the body.
Wow.
And so yeah, he's really developed into a good professional fighter, and that's a fight I would love to see.
Now, I didn't really get the chance to watch Shakur Stevenson's, I guess, final in the Olympics when he fought the Cuban Robesi Ramirez, who he lost to. I guess Robesi is the one that won the gold medal. Manny, did you get to watch that fight, and what were kind of your thoughts on that fight?
Cubans are very special fighters. They're very well experienced fighters. They have what is it about Cubans, that they have it down to the wire. The system, the amateur system, that is. They have a very good understanding on how it works, how to score points, and they're just very gifted. They're very, very talented. I just sometimes I sit back and I wonder what's gonna happen when if it ever does happen, and let's hope they do, when they tear down the wall, so to speak, and they become a democratic nation. And what's going to happen to boxing in Cuba? Will they still be the same powerhouse? Because by then, boxers will be able to turn pro. Whereas,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Cuba, you're not able to turn pro. So you stay amateur for forever unless you leave. But Cubans are very, very special fighters.
And a real shame that a lot of them, they kind of have to defect to the United States just to
Correct.
pursue their dreams. So part of me kind of hopes that Cuba turns back into what was sort of Las Vegas on an island in the past, where
Right in the past.
maybe
That's my
people could,
understanding.
yeah, maybe people can become pros from there as well.
Mhm.
So
Will
Shakur,
they still? My question is, will they still be the same powerhouse?
yeah,
Because everything's going to change. You know what I mean?
why would you think it would change? You think that the way it is now, it forces this kind of culture on them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a communist nation.
Yeah.
So as we all know, they can't turn pro, so they stay amateur. They stick to the amateur system, and you got men fighting kids. You got Cubans that have 300-400 amateur fights on them, fighting kids like Shakur.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Here you have a 19 year old kid fighting a 27, 28-year-old veteran. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. And
So
Robesi is 4 years older than Shakur Stevenson, the guy who beat him in the Olympic Games. So you're right on point on that one.
isn't he? Didn't he affect? Didn't he? Isn't he in the United States as well? Didn't he
Uh,
sign with Top Rank?
I
I think he lost his first professional debut.
His promoter is Bob Arum. That's
Yes, he did,
correct.
and he lost his professional debut
And
in
yes,
America.
you're absolutely right. He lost to
Welcome,
Adan Gonzalez by split decision in a four
welcome,
rounder.
welcome to the pros, my friend.
Oh my!
Remember, we were talking about that last week with
Yeah,
Lomachenko when he fought Salido.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
different. It's a different animal. It's a different animal. It's not
Wow.
the same thing. So the kid. Olympic gold medalist, and here you lose your professional debut. Eh? It was quite a lesson for him. Big learning experience.
And you know what, Manny? He got a gold at the AIBA 2010
World
in
Championships.
Baku. He got a
Oh,
gold in the Youth Olympic Games in Singapore 2010.
Jesus.
2014 in Veracruz. He also won the gold in the Central American and Caribbean Games. The Pan American
Wow.
Games, he won a gold there. And he's a
Woo.
two-time Olympic gold medalist. One in London at flyweight and
Oh,
one in Rio de Janeiro at bantamweight. So
oh.
just an incredibly sparkling amateur career, and to lose his to lose his professional debut is just outrageous. Really, it is.
I know. It's a humbling experience.
So, Shakur, it's kind of strange. He's going to be, fighting tomorrow on a Tuesday, but whatever. Boxing is back, right, Manny? We're just happy to have boxing back.
No, absolutely. And it's very unfortunate. Let me mention this, by the way. Michaela Mayer was on the actual undercard of the event, but unfortunately, she will not be fighting because if you might not know this, but she tested positive for the coronavirus, and they pulled her out of the card. She got
Oh,
pulled out.
no. Oh,
She's a
no.
co-main event, another Olympian, so it was very, very unfortunate for her.
Oh, man. And I mean, have you heard of any other fighters that have, tested positive for that right now? Or is that the only one that you've
Yeah,
heard from?
yes, I have. Unfortunately, people keep trying to call me. I'm on the show. I'm, um, yeah, unfortunately, yes, I've known of a couple of boxers that have, and it's.
Manny, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said unfortunately you have, and then I kind of lost you after that.
No, no. What I'm saying is, unfortunately, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it's gonna happen. It's happened. It happened to Michaela. Let's hope that it doesn't. Obviously, but listen. I mean, we're all in the same boat here. We're all This thing's got legs. I was speaking to a doctor friend of mine, Dr. Gonzalez, that also works for the California State Athletic Commission, Nevada. He works for different. He works for different promoters. And he was explaining to me how how this thing is real. This thing is real. Look what happened to Michaela. This thing is real, man. This thing's got legs. This thing's got legs. He says.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful. You got to watch yourself. So.
My goodness. Well, I mean, I'm just happy to have boxing back. And really excited about this fight. I'm definitely going to sit back and watch it. I look forward to hearing your reactions, after it happens.
And then I believe Thursday, they have boxing again on Thursday or Saturday. I think Jesse Magdaleno's fighting, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Let's take a look. You may be right there.
Jesse Magdaleno's fighting later this week. I think maybe if not Thursday, Saturday.
Oh, yeah, Thursday on ESPN in Las Vegas as well. Jesse Magdaleno against Yenifel Vicente.
And that's this week, right?
Well.
That's this Thursday, right? Wow, look at that. Back to back. Wow.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. And, I like that they're doing it during the week. Gives us something to do, you know what I mean?
Something to do, right. I mean, they have to catch up. They got to play catch up.
Absolutely. So another thing, Manny, that's kind of been in the news that I wanted to get your opinion on is the confusion in the heavyweight division, right? And we talked about this a couple shows ago at our first show. We were talking about Dillian Whyte's situation. Kind of the scene right now is, Tyson Fury is supposed to fight Deontay Wilder in a trilogy fight. And you've got Anthony Joshua locked in, and he's supposed to fight Kubrat Pulev in a mandatory defense. And then we've got Dillian Whyte is supposed to fight Alexander Povetkin. Mm-hmm. So all the top heavyweights are supposed to be locked up, but I'm hearing now, Manny, that Deontay Wilder, and I heard this before as well, that, he's recovering from like a serious bicep surgery. I mean, it looks like he may have torn his bicep in that Tyson Fury fight. And so, I just logically, it wouldn't make sense to me that his first fight back from such a serious injury would be to jump back into a trilogy this year against Tyson Fury. So I'm starting to hear a lot of rumblings of maybe Anthony Joshua stepping in. Frank Warren's talking about them signing a non-disclosure agreement in some country to fight Fury, to make an AJ versus Fury fight. You've got Dillian Whyte still chomping at the bit. He just wants to fight anybody in his path. I mean, how do you think this whole kind of mess we got at the top is going to unclog itself at this point?
Well, I don't know. Look at Anthony Joshua. I mean, I seen him wearing a cast.
Yeah,
seen him on social media, out there, wearing a cast on his leg. So, how is he gonna fight?
That's right.
How is he gonna get ready for Pulev, right? So he might have to step aside, and Charles Martin might end up fighting Kubrat Pulev for the world title.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that one, huh, Manny?
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Let's go. Let's go.
And of course,
wrong with that.
And of course, you have a direct interest in Charles Martin fighting because he's your fighter, obviously, for those people tuning in that don't know.
Of course. So can you imagine how I felt when I saw? I mean, I don't wish this upon anybody, but I mean, you see Anthony Joshua wearing that cast, you start thinking, maybe if he can't fight, we can.
Right. Right.
And you know what I mean? The title will probably end up getting vacated. Or we might end up fighting for an interim world title because of the fact that Joshua is injured and he may not be able to fight for a few months.
Right, and man, that would be a fantastic opportunity for Charles Martin and that would be a really good fight for you guys against Kubrat Pulev.
Definitely, it would be a great opportunity, and if it were to happen, wow! I mean, it would be awesome. It would be fantastic.
Now, Manny, but as a coach, as somebody that's been in the game for a hot minute, as the kids say, What do you think about Deontay Wilder having bicep surgery and, getting beaten the way he got beaten that last fight, jumping back in to a trilogy fight against Tyson Fury
Right.
before the end of this year? Is
I
that
I
crazy?
I wouldn't unless listen. I would. I mentioned this to you in the past where if I was if I was his part of his team, I would advise if Deontay Wilder that is. I would definitely advise him not to take the fight. I would maybe step aside and have Fury fight Anthony Joshua perhaps, and maybe get a couple tune-ups in between, and like I said, going back to the drawing board and developing, working on those skills, working on the foundation and fundamentals, and working on his fundamentals, and because that's what he needs.
Yeah.
He so desperately needs to get back to square one. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with going back to. Hey, they say repetition is a father of learning. You know, so he would definitely have to go back to the drawing board again, work on his fundamentals, and repeat, work on the jab, work on the defense, work on the footwork, and it's repetition, you know what I mean? And that's the only way to get better.
Well, we're going to put you in the hot seat, Manny. I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now. If you were.
Hey, the show is called Keeping It
Keep
Clean.
it clean. Hey, that's what we're going to do. But that doesn't mean we can't ask you the juicy questions. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So Manny, if Deontay Wilder were to reach out to Manny Robles tomorrow, and he said, I want Manny to help me out, and you started like an entire, regime for him to get ready for Tyson Fury.
Uh-huh.
What is it that you would work on for Deontay Wilder in order to get him ready for a trilogy fight with Tyson Fury? I want to know details.
Definitely teach him how to go to that body because he's a fighter that does not go to the body.
Yeah.
He very rarely ever goes to the body. So that's one thing. And obviously the jab. The jab is the key to victory. The jab is obviously that should be your number one weapon. He's got a huge right hand, but you imagine what you could do with that left if you were to develop that jab, that stiff jab, and just balance. It's all about position. In boxing, it's all about position. And he's the type of fighter that needs to learn how to get in position. When you're in position, you can attack or you can defend. At which position meaning balance. If you don't have balance, if there's no balance, if you're lunging in like he does, and not develop a good jab and just pretty much all over the place, then there's no balance.
Right.
And then,
Right.
but therefore, if there's no balance, there's no fundamentals, and that's what he needs. Work on that foundation, work on the fundamentals, being ready, being well balanced and positioned to attack, to get in, out, fighting angles, side to side movement, footwork. I mean, just pretty much overall everything.
I mean, that sounds like quite a bit. I mean, is that something that, he would have time to learn?
Absolutely. But he's got to want it.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got to realize that. He's got to realize, like I said, he has his coaches, and that's great. And there's no reason to remove your coaches. Just add to what you already have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Add
Yeah.
to that. Bring someone else in. Bring someone that can teach you that, and be honest with you. Be blunt. Be brutally honest with you and tell you the truth. Listen, this is what you need to work on. Because the problem in boxing is this. Someone like Deontay Wilder. If Deontay Wilder fight, and we all understand and see that he needs that the guy needs to get better, that the guy needs to develop his skills. But as long as he's winning, leave it alone. He's winning, and then all of a sudden shit hits the fan, and then you realize that, hey, oh shoot, well maybe you're right, you know. But why does something bad have to happen for you to realize that you know what I'm saying, that you
Yeah,
need to get
yeah.
better?
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like they kind of waited too long to address all the flaws he's kind of got in his fighting style.
Yeah, well, everybody, look, we've seen his flaws for a very long time,
Right,
and
right,
we
right,
talk about him. Commentators on TV talk about him. Everybody talks about him, but he's been able to get away with it because he's got so much power, right? And then
right,
someone like Tyson Fury with that type of experience. See, he made adjustments the second time around, right?
right,
He
right,
did what he had to do the second time around to make adjustments and to say, you know, figure out, hey, this is how we're gonna beat Joshua. Great team, and that it wasn't just Tyson Fury, I must say, but his coaches, you know, and the coaches did a great job, and and um, and on the other hand, for Deontay Wilder, like I said, if it ain't broke, why fix it? But you have to realize that you do need to fix some things.
yeah.
Now, why do you have to wait to get knocked out or to lose a fight to all of a sudden realize that you need to make some changes?
I mean, man, he's got Mark Breland in his corner. You know, this was a fantastic fighter.
Freeman, Olympic gold medalist, 84.
Right, you know, a fantastic fighter with a ton of experience. I'm sure he's been seeing this stuff, you know, and me, like everybody else, I mean, I see what I believe are the faults in his style, you know. Why do you think, I mean, why do you
Right.
think it wasn't addressed earlier? Is it like you're saying? I mean, people
I don't
just figure,
know. Yeah, like you said, it just very well should. If it's working, why change anything?
right? What killed me, Manny, is when he took on Luis Ortiz, you know, the second time, you know, and it wasn't just right, and it wasn't just the second time. It was also like even when he fought guys that were okay, like what's his name, like Spilka. You know, I felt like he was getting outboxed by Spilka. I felt like he was
Gerald Washington was all boxing that
right,
day,
right, right. That
and then
too.
they got knocked out. They got knocked out. Let's not forget Tyson Fury went down twice the first time around.
Right, right.
And then obviously he's a more skilled fighter, but that right hand of Wilder, man, if he catches you, it's over.
Right, right. Well, Knuckleheads, thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. This is Keep It Clean with Manny Robles. If you don't know, hit the subscribe button below, the bell notification icon next to it. Join Knucklehead Nation. Anything you want to ask Manny, you can leave it in the chat and I'll let him know. And Manny, we do have some comments in the chat I'd like to get to.
All right,
So we've got Davey L. He says, "Good luck, Manny."
right
Uh,
on.
you know, maybe hoping for you to get that Charles Martin fight against Kubrat
Right?
Pulev.
Hey, that's right.
Um,
Anything is possible.
Scott Brown says Gary Russell Jr. versus Shakur,
Woo!
co-main event of Wilder Fury 3. I'm picking Gary Russell Jr. I'm picking Gary Russell Jr. What do you think about that one, Coach Manny?
I'd probably be more interested in watching that fight than the heavyweights.
Wow, that
Gary
is
Russell and Shakur, the two best featherweights in the world at this moment.
yeah, yeah. That would be a fantastic matchup.
Absolutely.
And you know, Gary Russell's another guy. I mean, that's just been desperately calling out everybody. He just wants to fight. He just wants to fight. And it doesn't seem like he's been able to, you know, to get his way with that, Manny. A lot of people don't seem to be rushing to fight Gary Russell Jr.
Well, Gary Russell's a very gifted boxer, as you know, and he's also an Olympian, 2008 Olympian, Beijing.
Right.
And he's got a great deal of experience. His only loss was to Lomachenko, and I believe it was a split decision. And it was a great fight, great learning experience for him. As I've said, you learn more from your defeats than you do from your wins. So I'm sure that he learned a great deal from that fight, and he's become a better fighter today. He also defeated Joseph Diaz for the world title, for the title defense. And Joseph Diaz is a very gifted fighter as well. And
Mm.
you all know he's a world champion now at 130. And I mean, there's a lot of great talent out there, but definitely Shakur versus Gary Russell would definitely be the the best fight in the featherweight division right now as we speak.
And Manny, did you watch that Jojo? It was Jojo Diaz against Tevin Farmer. Am I right?
Correct. There's a rematch clause for that one, so they're apparently they're gonna do it again.
That was a brutal. That was a brutal fight, Manny.
Yeah, there's a rematch clause, so it looks like they're gonna go ahead and duke it out once again.
Do you think the outcome changes on that one?
I love Joseph Diaz. Joseph Diaz is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
His father is a good friend, and I was very happy. I was there, obviously, with the Team USA as a coach when he qualified for the Olympic Games in 2011 at the World Championships in Baku, and that was a very special moment. It was a very emotional moment for the father, and we both embraced and cried, and it was such a beautiful moment. I mean, watching your son qualify to the Olympic Games and being there, having to be there is awesome. And he beat none other than Oscar Valdez.
Ah, okay, okay.
And when they're both amateurs, Oscar Valdez by 1 point.
Wow, another guy you're very familiar with.
Yes, I am a little bit. We do have some history together.
I mean, you made Oscar Valdez a champion. Am I right?
Yes, I did. World champion, featherweight.
Just another feather in the legendary Manny Robles' cap. Mr. Flash U 174 Oye says, Manny, you made history with Ruiz with the knockout victory over my boy AJ. I was sick with salt for 3 days. Nothing but respect to you.
Thank you so much, man. It's boxing. You gotta love the sport, and you respect. I have a great deal of respect for our opponents, because they're both, both. You gotta understand, boxers are in there trying to, they're trying to provide for their families. They're trying to feed their families, and they're both in there for the same sole purpose, to win, to hopefully to one day maybe get an opportunity to fight for a world title, and then when that happens, you try to take advantage. You try to take advantage of those opportunities and do everything you can to win. And it's it's very emotional when you win a world title. It's a beautiful feeling. When you win any fight, period, it just doesn't matter. Even kids that are amateur kids, you ask an amateur fighter when he wins his amateur fight and he gets his little medal and his little trophy, and I guarantee you, every single one of these kids goes home, they go to bed with their trophy, with their medal. You know what I mean? Because their fight. Not everybody does that. Not everybody's a fighter.
For sure. And Manny, he's he brought up Ruiz. I'm hearing, and I think I brought this up in the past, perhaps to you, that Ruiz is getting ready with is it Eddie Reynoso for a comeback against Chris Arreola of all people.
Wasn't he retired?
I have no idea, but it looks.
Coming back from retirement to fight Andy.
I mean, he probably. I know if he's not 40, he's at least on the cusp of 40 years of age. I mean, I don't think. I don't think it's a great fight for Chris Arreola, but I guess what are your thoughts on that one?
Right, so if the money's right, he'll come back from retirement. If the money's right, I guarantee you that, man. Anybody will. Mike Tyson will come back
That's true. Hey,
the money's right. Evander Holyfield.
we might be seeing that trilogy fight within the next couple of months. I mean,
you know what I mean. It's just that's the nature of the business. And for someone like Andy to be fighting Chris Arreola, well, I honestly don't think it's a good idea for on Chris Arreola's part. I mean, once you retire, you should stay retired. And but I don't know. I believe that Andy should definitely get back into title contingency. That's by fighting someone within the top 10, rated top 10 in the world.
Right.
And if you fight Chris Ariola, how is that going to get you? How's that going to get you anywhere? How's that going to get you an opportunity to once again fight for a world title, or maybe look for a third fight versus Anthony Joshua? That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm saying it. You're not saying it. Again, I'm saying it. I think it's a bullshit fight. I don't like the fight at all. I think it's maybe like a confidence type builder fight, and I don't want to see Chris Ariola go out like that. But all the best. All the best to Chris Ariola and Andy Ruiz, of course.
I love Chris. Chris is a great fighter. I remember when he fought for the world title versus Klitschko. It's a great fight, man. He came up short, and I really wanted him to win that night, man. I really wanted him to become the first Mexican-American heavyweight champion of the world, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and I remember that fight too, and I wanted him to win for the same reason, Manny. I kind of wanted him to win. I thought it would be very exciting for that to happen at the time. Gunby Publishing, Astigmatism in My Soul TV. That's Sean Gumby. That's my man. He says, "Peace, George. I see you. What's up, Sean? Thank you for joining us, my man." Fight Life Nation says, "Manny, what do you think of Ryan Garcia versus Abner Mares? Is this a fight that would excite you? I love Mares' style. I think it's a great fight for Ryan." And this is very interesting. This is being brought up because you're working with Abner Mares.
That's right. No, well, look, listen. Abner, he's a smart fighter. He's got nothing to prove. He's a 4-time world champion in 3 different weight classes. A former Olympian. He's got nothing to prove. He's already, again, 4-time world champion, 3 different weight classes.
Yeah.
Ryan, he's not. He hasn't been there yet. He hasn't fought. Any top-rated boxers. So unless you do that, then you will begin to get more credibility. Do I agree with the fight? Listen, I'm his coach. I'm not his manager. We already talked about the fact that if you were to fight Ryan, it would definitely have to be at 130. No more, because I don't believe that Abner should be fighting anywhere over 130 pounds. Anywhere over 130. Yes?
Yeah.
Max 130. And we all know that Ryan Garcia is a 135 pounder, so it's a difficult matchup. I mean, Ryan Garcia's not going to move down to 130 to fight Abner.
Right.
And then maybe Abner will say, you know what, I'll take the fight. Let's go 135. But they got to pay, man.
Right.
This is a business. This is a business, man. They got to pay. If I'm going to take a chance against a bigger man, you got to pay me.
Yeah.
Especially at this stage in Abner's career. I still believe that he has what it takes to become a world champion once again. Maybe in a 4th weight class at 130. But like I said, anything over 130, I don't agree with. And I told him this already.
Yeah. And what's kind of his feedback to your suggestion?
That is, I want to fight this kid. He talks a lot of shit. I respect, like I said, I respect all fighters. Ryan Garcia, he's good for boxing. He's definitely good for boxing. He's a type of fight. Yeah, a lot of people, you love him or hate him, he's good for boxing.
Yeah.
And he's got talent. He's got skills. But I would definitely love to see him fight with someone like Linares.
Beautiful fight.
I mean, they're both Golden Boy fighters. I'll definitely love to see that fight. I don't know why that's not happening, but maybe because Linares is in Japan and it's hard for boxers to travel. Boxers that live outside the country, it's hard for them to travel at this moment. We have a travel ban and visa situations and so forth and so on. So it makes it impossible to come to the United States.
And there's also Devin Haney. I mean, who's been wanting to fight Ryan Garcia.
They're both with the Zone. I believe Devin Haney's with the Zone and Eddie Hearn, and then you have a Golden Boy working with the Zone as well as partners, and then obviously Ryan Garcia being with the Golden Boy. That fight could definitely be made with the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. Maybe Golden Boy doesn't want to take the fight. I don't know. Maybe they don't feel he's ready to step up and fight someone like Devin Haney when everyone else is. Maybe Ryan feels he's ready. But like I said, that's the important thing about having a good solid team behind you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's got to be able to, you know, tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, kid, relax. It's not the time. Not yet. Hold on. It's gonna come." And I'm sure it will. Hopefully sooner than later. And I'm sure it's gonna happen, but now's not the time.
Yeah. 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 I was kind of, skeptical on Ryan Garcia, Manny, but man, the past couple fights, I mean, he's just tearing through people like a hot knife through butter, man. I mean, that's first round finishes, spectacular fashion.
Absolutely, you got to give it to him. You got to, but can he do the same thing with like you said with the Devin Haney, with the Teofimo Lopez, with the Linares, and we're talking about 135 pounders now.
Right.
These are fighters that are in his weight class. Abner's not, like I said, Abner's more 130 max, but he's like, hey, listen, if he wants to fight, let's go. And they're both going at it. They're both going back and forth. I know that Abner's made a couple phone calls. He's already called Ryan Garcia's people and said, all right, let's make the fight happen. Let's go. But they're not having it. Apparently, Ryan Garcia isn't even fighting July 4th.
Oh, he's not, or he is?
That's my understanding, that they don't have an opponent. So,
Ah.
what's his name? Ryan wrote it on Twitter. I believe that he said that it looks like I'm not fighting July 4th.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Manny, one thing I notice about Ryan Garcia, man, I don't know from a skills standpoint. I mean, it looks like he's got decent skills to me. Maybe you can kind of fill me in on your opinion of that. But one thing I notice, man, is the reflexes and the speed. And I feel like that speed is so tremendous that it really
Correct.
makes him dangerous, man. He looks like he's landing these counter shots in the blink of an eye, and he could just take anybody. He's got enough power, it looks like, to really hurt people. You know what I mean?
Well, he's got a devastating left hook.
Yeah.
Same as Deontay Wilder's got a devastating right hand. This kid's got a devastating left hook. So, but he definitely has room for improvement and make him more than just a one punch kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like Deontay, him with the left hook, maybe the jab, maybe work on footwork. I mean, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to get better, and I'm sure he'll get there.
Yeah. So he shouldn't give Manny Robles' knockout boxing a call and come in there and tighten up, or what do you think about that, man?
No, he's with Reynoso. Why would he do that?
Okay.
He's
Never
with
mind.
He's with the best trainer in the world.
Is he? I thought you were the...
No. Hey, listen, he was named trainer of the year. So
Gotcha. Well, 2021's got Manny Robles' name written all over it.
We got to keep working. That's not. I don't do what I do for. I do what I do for my boxers. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm all about them, and I'm all for the boxers. I'm all for them becoming successful and hopefully get opportunities to fight for world titles and hopefully become world champions someday. But it's about them. It's never been about me. I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. And I think every coach will probably tell you the same thing, that it's we're not looking for accolades or for glory. The glory comes when we see our boxers win world titles.
Gotcha. And I think I can see that selflessness shining through in your fighters and your success so far. So I definitely appreciate that, Manny. RGN's in the granite up in here. He says Ryan Garcia is the real deal. Bosstown in the house. Represented for Boston, says he missed the fights on Saturday. He had to work. He loves the fight talk. Appreciate you being in here, RGN. And, we love it when you guys join us for these things. Fight Life Nation says, I think Ryan has astronomical potential. he's calling everyone out on Twitter, but not signing the contract to fight.
Yeah, because it's not up to the fighter. I mean, obviously, it's up to the fighter. The fighters got to call out. Fighters call out fighters, and they want to fight each other. But there's a lot more to it than that. There's the business end. There's the promoters. There's the management. There's the money. Can you come to an agreement? Can we go 50-50, 60-40? That type of thing. Everybody wants to make more than the other guy, so there's a lot of nicks and knacks that need to be taken care of to before you make a fight. You know what I mean? So obviously, as fans, we want to see these type of fights happen, but it's a lot harder than it looks.
Manny RGN's in the Granite is in here asking if you need an assistant trainer. Look, you got people lining up to work for you in the chat room right now, man.
Yeah, we got a lot of boxers in the gym, so yeah, I may need an assistant trainer really soon.
Manny, what are the fights you're kind of most excited about, as boxing kind of comes back from this crazy hiatus that we had?
Oscar Valdez, Miguel Burchill, El Alacrán Burchill, that's a fight I would love to see. That's definitely a fight that at 130 pounds WBC, that's definitely a fight that we're all looking forward to as fans. And what else? I don't know. We got Jose Ramirez, Postol. That's a good fight.
Ramirez is a beast, man.
Jose Ramirez is a beast. He's he's got two of the four belts at 140. And Jose Ramirez and I go way back. He's a very good friend of mine as well, and great kid.
What did you think of that fight? What did you think of that fight against Maurice Hooker, Manny? That was an incredible performance.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be a good fight because I saw Maurice Hooker. I've been watching Maurice Hooker for a little while now, and I thought, man, this is going to be a great fight. But now look at Jose Ramirez just pretty much steamrolled through Maurice and became a world champion. The one fight that Jose Ramirez had trouble in was with Sean Cepeda.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that he lost that fight. A lot of people feel like he came up short in that fight, but obviously he fought in his hometown, and that says a lot. That when you got the home support, you got the home fans and cheering you on. It plays a part in a big fight like that.
Yeah. Another fight that kind of sticks out for me, Manny, and I wanted your opinion on this too, is, I was down in South Florida before I moved out here, and I got to know and got to interview Stacy McKinley, who was, Mike Tyson's trainer and a bunch of other people's trainers. And he also trained Amir Imam, who also fought Jose Ramirez, and I thought, Imam, yeah, and I kind of thought Imam, had some good potential based on what I saw and what Stacy McKinley had told me. I mean, what are your thoughts on Imam? What do you think? What do you think he kind of?
I like Imam, but Amir Imam just lost his last fight versus Javier Molina.
Yeah.
Did you know that? A local fighter out of Southern California, Commerce, Norwalk area, and 2008 Olympian as well.
Yeah.
And that's a kid that's starting to make some noise now. Javier Molina, I think he's earning the right to fight for world title, and that would be versus Jose Ramirez maybe, because they're both with Top Rank. So there's a possibility that I'm happy to see Javier Molina finally get to the stage where he belongs, and also for his coach Robert Luna. He's a very good friend of mine, and he deserves it. They both deserve it to be where they're at and to get the opportunity to be on a huge card, because he fought on Miramon versus Molina. That was on the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder card, and defeated Amir Iman, a great fighter, and now he's at the top. He's more than likely in the top 10, top rated in the top 10 list of fighters in the world.
Very defensive kid, Amir Imam's style is kind of very defensive, but I felt like, Jose Ramirez's style, very aggressive, came forward. Very smart in the
That
way
was
he
a great fight.
fights. Yeah.
That was a great fight versus Amir Iman. But definitely a very good fight.
And man, that Maurice Hooker fight, I was very impressed with. You mentioned Burchill versus Oscar Valdez. I mean, that's definitely a juicy one. Who do
Right.
you think wins that fight? Because
Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
why why not, man? Come on.
No. I have a great, Oscar knows I have a great deal of love for him, and I love this kid. I, I wish him nothing but the best, man. I hope he's able to pull it off.
Yeah.
He's not the favorite, and obviously Miguel Berchel is a world champion, established, solidified world champion at 130. Um, and then we all saw what happened to Oscar. And then, like they say in boxing, you're only as good as your last fight. We all saw him get dropped in his last fight versus the kid from the Valley, Blue Nose.
The late replacement kid,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. He's the son of Hector Lopez,
Right.
the Mexican '84 Olympian, silver medalist. Great, good friend of mine. May his soul rest in peace. Passed away. And yeah, he was a late replacement. He was on the same card, and he was going to fight at 126 pounds. He was fighting at 126. So then Oscar's opponent came in about 10 pounds overweight. So, that didn't happen. So they get this kid that was already get Oscar Valdez, and he's like, he took the fight. But mind you, this was Oscar's debut. Oscar was debuting at 130 pounds.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
You follow?
Yeah.
And this kid came in at 126.
Wow.
Right? So this kid was the smaller fighter of the two.
Yeah.
This kid is 126, fighting at 130. Hey, why not? Big opportunity. I'm going to get paid. I'm sure he got a nice payday. And he gave Oscar a run for his money. He dropped Oscar, made Oscar look bad at times. But Oscar went back. Oscar had to go back. In that fight, he went back to knowing what he's good at. Does that make sense? Like, he went back to being his old self, and he just had to.
Yeah.
He had to go back to being himself and the seek and destroy. That seek and destroy type of attitude where he went out there and he stopped Blue Nose.
I love all this insight from you, Manny. This is so cool. What I wanted to ask you though, since we're on this topic, is you're not the only one. I mean, obviously, I think the world would have Berchelt as a favorite in that fight. Even though Oscar Valdez, great fighter. And it looks like Shakur Stevenson agrees with you. I think they were asking him in a recent interview, how he would kind of deal with the best guys in the division, and he seems to think Berchelt is the toughest fight, without saying it. What do you think makes Berchelt the toughest fight?
His power, definitely power. His chin. He's a great combination puncher. Doesn't take a step back. He's aggressive. He can box. He's a good boxer puncher. Yes,
Yeah.
He can come forward and fight you, but he's got good skills. He's a solid 130 pounder, tall, strong, and for Oscar, he was a WBO featherweight champion of the world, and he vacated the title because apparently he couldn't make 126 anymore. That's the reason why he didn't fight Shakur. He had the mandatory versus Shakur. He relinquished the title, moved up to 130, and that's when Shakur fought Joed, and we're talking about Shakur winning the world title. That's how that happened. But now that Oscar's 130, he hasn't fought at 130. He's fought at 130,
Right.
but he hasn't fought a 130 opponent.
Right.
He's only had one fight at 130, and that was with Lopez, Blue Nose. but he came in at 126.
Right. So it was like he was fighting a guy from his old division, basically.
Yes, and the smaller guy, smaller, less experienced fighter of the two,
But wasn't he
and
longer? I mean, wasn't he significantly like taller and longer? Or am
yeah,
I?
then Oscar, yes. Although he was he was the lighter fighter of the two. I mean,
Yeah.
featherweight, he was still taller.
I felt like that's what kind of gave him trouble in that fight too. It was that bit of a reach
You,
advantage, maybe.
you know what it was? I honestly, how I feel about that fight is that they're trying to make Oscar become a boxer when he's not a boxer. They're trying to make him become a counter puncher when he's not a counter puncher.
Right.
Oscar is an aggressive fight. Oscar, look, I'll tell you what. Oscar has a better chance to beat Burchill than he, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Oscar. I gotta go. I gotta say this, you know, but
Give it
he's
to
got a
us,
better chance
Manny.
to beat Burchill than he would someone like Shakur.
Yeah. And
And
what?
honestly, this is my opinion now. Honestly, I don't think it had anything to do with him not being able to make weight anymore at 126. You know what I mean? I felt that it had more to do with, like, listen, I'm gonna move up to 130 and not deal with Shakur.
Wow.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But but Oscar, it wasn't his, not by choice. Not by his choice. You follow me?
Yeah. So he
It wasn't his
was.
decision
So this is him. You think maybe being advised to go.
to say, hey, let's move up to 130 and fight Berchet, where I feel he has a better chance
Yeah.
to beat Berchet. And I'll tell you why. Although he's never fought anybody at anyone 130 pounders, because styles make fights. Yes?
Yeah.
And Berchel has the type of style where Oscar can adapt a lot better. He's gonna be right there for him, and they're gonna go to war, and they're gonna beat the shit out of each other. Excuse my French. You understand?
I love it. I love it, man. I
Right?
love it. I
Where
love it.
Shakur's not gonna stand in front of Oscar, and Shakur's gonna box Oscar. He's a great counterpuncher. He's gonna stick and move, and he's gonna do what he's got to do to win the fight.
Yeah.
And he's just, look. I don't see anybody beating Shakur at 126. This kid, mark my words, this kid's definitely gonna go on the pound for pound best fighter in the world list in a very short future.
Wow. So that's straight from Manny Robles, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't, hit the subscribe button below, the bell notification icon next to it. This is Keep It Clean with Manny Robles, man. We're getting the inside look on boxing from one of the best trainers in the world. Manny, we got a question here from Paola H, who says, Manny, what are your thoughts about Danny Roman and his last fight?
Danny Roman is a badass fighter. I love Danny. I love his story, man. That's the these are the type of story. These are the type of stories that we need in boxing. This kid, I've been following him since he was an amateur, and he's such a humble kid. He hasn't had anything given to him. Everything that he's been able to have to win in life, he's earned it. This kid has never gotten any handouts.
Yeah.
He's never had it easy, and I'm so proud of him because he's such a, it's not just, as I always tell my fighters, it's not just your behavior inside the ring, but it's also, what's even more important is your behavior outside of the ring, the way you carry yourself. He's the epitome of a person with a great heart and very, very humble. He's a great kid. If you don't know this kid, people that don't know this kid, he's a class act kind of individual, but he's a beast inside the ring, man. He's a freaking beast. He's a warrior. This guy will, make sure that he leaves everything inside the ring.
Manny, I love it. What other fights What other fights are?
I feel about Danny.
Then there you go. There you go. I appreciate the question, Paulo. What other fights kind of pique your interest that you think could maybe happen before the end of the year?
I like to see what happened to Gervonta David.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, he's also at 135 pounds.
And he couldn't make that either, right? In his last fight, I mean, he could barely make that, right?
Yeah, he's got. I mean, these kids, they're knuckleheads. I mean, they think that, oh, I can't make weight anymore. I'm gonna move up to the next weight class, but it doesn't matter. He can move up to 147, and he's still gonna have trouble making 147.
Right, right.
Because it's all about discipline, man. It's all about discipline. It's all about taking care of your body and being disciplined.
And he definitely
You gotta want
has.
it.
He definitely. Yeah, he's got some good talent, man. It's just like you said, it's a shame. I mean, he wasn't making the previous division. Then he
Yeah,
goes into the last one against
yeah.
Gamboa, right? It was Gamboa
hmm
that he took on.
Yep. Yeah, 130, 135. I mean, your behavior outside the ring definitely, as I said, definitely has a lot to do with your longevity and boxing, you know? I mean, you got to take care of yourself. Your body's your temple, man. If you don't take care of your body, you're not going to be in this game for a very long time.
That's another interesting thing, Manny. Are you involved at any level? I mean, I would imagine you are. For your own guys, when you're training them, are you involved in their dieting or telling them kind of what they should eat? I was curious to ask you that.
You know what? You know what? Nowadays, fortunately, we have a good solid team where, we have our nutritionists, we have our strength and conditioning coaches, we have our chefs. For some of my boxers, not all, but then the ones that don't have it, I try to help out as much as I possibly can because they're not able to afford, paying for meals or for nutritionists and so forth. So we do what we can to help our kids to make sure that they're all taken care of.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had Manny here with us for over an hour and 10 minutes now. Manny, I don't want to keep taking your time.
No problem.
Always such a fantastic time with you on the show. Anything you kind of want to say before we let you go here, Manny?
I'm happy. I'm happy that boxing's back. I'm gonna be tuning into the fights tomorrow night, and can't wait to see Shakur.
It's going to be a great one, and I'll probably go live after the fights tomorrow, guys, just to chat with you guys if you feel like talking about it. Me and Manny, of course, will be reacting to tomorrow's fight and Thursday's fights with Jesse Magdaleno, which luckily Manny told me about because it totally slipped my mind. We'll be talking about that on Monday, next Monday, with Keep It Clean with Manny Robles. We do this every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, guys, so be sure to hit the subscribe button below, the bell notification icon next to it. Support the channel, buy shirts. I'm going to create some Keep It Clean shirts for you guys to buy to support me and Manny. Anything you guys purchase or donate to the channel gets reinvested right back in the channel. But anyway, Knuckleheads, thank you so much for your time. This is me and Manny. And until next time, keep it clean.